Okay, I think we are live and we can start painting. My windows are a little bit all over the place here, so I'm gonna try to nudge this into place. Is that at all better? Maybe? Okay, I'm gonna lock it for now. Hey, sorry, this is literally the sketch that I had time to do. I have to be completely honest here. I was absolutely panicking before this live stream, thinking that like, okay, I was kind of thinking that like we're gonna extrapolate on a sketch idea that I'm gonna do, and here we are. This is the sketch. So it's nothing. It's literally nothing. So I just did these shapes and I was like, I don't have any more time, but I don't have a custom palette either, so I'm just gonna use one of my favorite ones, which is Ghibli Hill. In fact, I'm gonna do this. Grab this and go into palette mode. So let's do some actual sketching in this mode and see what the painting even is, because I have like a vague idea. I can see like somewhat of a boat shape here. So the entire live stream, in case you want to decide now if this is something that you want to stick around for, is that I'm gonna start try my best to extrapolate from this idea of a boat and just see what happens. If you're new to my live streams, I'm sorry to say that this is pretty much what it's like. Most of the time, I wish that I could say that there's some kind of a clear plan, but there's not. Let's just be real. There's not. As a brush, I'm gonna be using Perfect Consistency from my oil brushes set, and these brushes are currently only available in the membership, so all the members have the access to that. And they have access to the latest YouTube video that I just released on the membership. That will come to everybody for free as well, but on the membership they have this exclusive time period when they don't have any ads on. So probably tomorrow. I still need to do more thumbnails. I just have one thumbnail for it. But the way that YouTube works these days is that you pretty much have to design and make 3 different thumbnails for every video if you wanna optimize clicks. And then you run an A and B test. So that's why whenever you see a video of mine that is new, it's probably not going to be the last. By the way, give me feedback on the sounds if the volume is like not okay. I can do something about that. Thank you for letting me know about the sound, because I have my headphones on here because I was thinking that I would have time to do a sound check, but I did not have time to do a sound check. So in my new video, that is probably going to be released sometime tomorrow, I'm gonna set this here so I can see the live stream in a smaller scale more easily. So that allows me to kind of see the painting in front of me in a smaller scale. So it's almost like I'm using a traditional old-fashioned drawing tablet here, because for you guys, I want to keep this view as big as possible so that you can see what's happening on the screen. But for myself, with making the art, I want to see this in a small scale as possible. And the small thumbnail size lets me kind of do that. I've used this palette so many times, honestly. Whenever I have this sort of like, I don't know what I'm gonna do for colors, this is the palette that I use every time. I love it. It's so good. Like all the colors, they just inspire me so much. There's a good combination of just like vibrant green colors if I want to do any kind of like nature stuff. And then there are like weird additions like these that just make it more interesting. How is everybody doing today? I hope you are enjoying the fall. It's been very foggy in here. I don't know if that's going to be part of this entire thing at some point. Could be a good idea. Maybe some birds. There's like one paint blotch that I really like the color of, but it's on the wrong layer. So I'm gonna go into that layer and just salvage it. These sketch lines are not going to be useful for that much longer because they're basically garbage. Maybe I should start blocking out the boat on its own layer. Do my best to select the sky. I think that's close enough. Here I am doing an easy kind of like color mixing trick by having the background color be kind of saturated. So when I'm using these oil painting brushstrokes, it kind of blends in. Can you see how it blends in that color with every single brushstroke? And it just adds a lot of easy, almost free hue variety. And when I'm doing this, I'm kind of like laying out the foundation for all of the colors. So when the foundation itself is blending those colors together, like they become way more cohesive. This is even before I add something as defining as local colors, for example. So this doesn't make the colors muddy yet, because when I want to add those sort of like foundation colors, I can still do that. This is still very early on in this process. Let's drop that really nice blue brushstroke in here. I mean, is it just me who sees the boat? Hopefully that's not just me. Selina, how did you... I actually met Selina. This camera is sideways. So I actually met Selina when she was visiting Finland. How did you enjoy the rest of your trip? Let's do something else than this sort of like hellish red. Now I'm looking orange, like the white balance of this camera didn't understand me at all. I think these colors are like pretty good already, so I don't want to mess with that too much. Like maybe try some like really rough cloud block-ins, like, I mean rough. But it's so hard to communicate about this sort of cloud blocking in process. It's just like how much endurance I have for failure. It's not that I have so much practice on getting the lines right, but I have so much kind of like faith in luck that if I just keep trying over and over again, at some point I will just run into shapes that work. So for most beginners, I think they just want constant forward momentum in their painting process. And I think that's a very easy way to leave a lot of like cool stuff on the table before it can be a part of your painting. The flowers are aligned off grid, so I'm gonna do a quick nudge for those. It's this thing. Okay. Okay, now it's in place. It had this like white streak in the edge, and I don't know, I'm just too OCD to deal with that. Selina is saying, I'm looking forward to autumn and winter, favorite time of the year. I want to show this like really cute thing that I got from Selina. Which is this. It's a cookie that can heat my coffee mug when it's here on the table. And it's USB powered, so I have that because it takes me a really long time to drink my coffee. I don't like my painting session to be interrupted by the coffee running out, so I usually just sit with the same cup of coffee for hours and hours. So that is very useful, especially now when it's getting colder. By the way, Selina, you got lucky with the weather. It just got immediately colder here this week. Thank you, Hongtan. So we went to this art gallery called Atheneum with Selina, and that's one of my favorite places to go and see art, and it's also one of my favorite places where I usually paint. I take my iPad there with me, and there are plenty of seats in the different gallery rooms, and it's one of those places where it's so normal that there are plenty of like art students sketching the artwork or sculptures there. So people really don't stare that much, which I find pretty distracting when I'm painting. I'm just feeling out the different colors and seeing how the light could fall on this. The cloud is giving me some indication already, but that's so quick that it's way too early to commit to something like that. And I'm not in a hurry. The only thing that I truly regret is not having any coffee here on the table, because I was in so much of a hurry. My boyfriend was just leaving to work, and I literally said to him that, like, I'm fully panicking. I have no idea what I'm going to paint. And I've had all day to think about this, and at the last moment, it just doesn't crystallize any faster. And I was just horrified. What could this even be? Since my entire composition is right in the middle, that's why I drew those grids, because when I don't have an idea, the grids help me to stay aware of the most important composition checklist items. I don't want to align a vertical line, for example, directly here. So having it visible to me like that really helps me from making that mistake that is honestly, like, it sounds dumb, because like once you know it, you could just always avoid it. But even still, like when you're blocking in quickly, stuff like this, you can easily do like even the most basic composition mistakes. That's why speed painting is such a bad way to learn painting at all, because you usually end up making mistakes in all those areas that you are likely needing most time with. So if you're kind of like just prioritizing on getting the artwork finished in a certain time limit, you miss all those opportunities to actually learn anything useful, and then you are just hustling to get things done, and that learning process doesn't happen if you don't kind of give it the time that it deserves and needs. Oh, Selena went to HAM as well. So HAM means Helsinki Art Museum, and it usually has somewhat newish art. I don't want to say that it's a modern art museum, because there are plenty, like, there are plenty of artworks that are more new than modern art. So HAM is more like contemporary art museum. I like to just like leave some of these blended areas in the colors. I think it looks fine. I'm gonna check the palette and see if there would be anything cool that I could maybe bring in here. I can slowly kind of see the painting forming. It's almost like I'm squinting and I see the painting that it's vaguely suggesting that it could be. But it's a very distant echo of a finished idea. Selena is saying, currently painting an island inspired by the many I visited during my trip. Electrotone is saying, good evening, Mikko and chat. Hope everyone is doing well on this fine day. Yes. I already know I'm gonna steal this. This boat. I don't know. There might be somebody living on this boat. Might be tough to steal. There's a certain kind of like red that I'm looking for that is just not here, but I feel like it could work. Is this from imagination or from reference? I've seen plenty of boats in my life. If I need reference, I will Google some boat images. That will probably be handy for all of those wires on top. But before we get there, I'm just gonna wing it. I mean, how serious is it? It's just art. I don't understand why people are so like obsessed with like, is something from reference or not? Like, it doesn't make the art any better or worse if there is reference used or not. If you need reference, use a reference. It will probably make your art a lot better. Hello, Carolina. It's been ages that I made it to the live stream. Floating greenery. That sounds inspiring. I think no reference can have its charm too. You're kind of like unbound by real world rules. And sometimes that can lead into more interesting solutions. At least when it comes to making art that is more personal, I feel like if I start without a very clearly defined idea and just like let the idea form in the process, it often reveals things about myself and turns the entire art piece into something that is way more personal than it would probably otherwise be. It almost like that personal touch sneaks into the painting without me even realizing it. And then when it's almost done, then I know it's like, oh, this is why I'm painting this thing. Now I understand what I've been doing this entire time. That happens almost every time. But if I'm just doing a study, it kind of takes more deliberate, and I'm not saying that it can't be done, but it does take kind of like more deliberate introspection to turn that into art as well. I'm probably in the minority in the art teachers, because I think that whenever you're doing studies of something, personally, I find it more motivating to think that I'm always doing art. Like even when I'm doing drawing study of something that I can't draw yet, which is a lot of things. So in those cases, like the entire study process takes so much attention and time that I find it a lot more motivating to keep that attention level going that the work requires for me to learn all of the needed things, that I also need to feel like I'm saying something with the piece, that it's not just like a practice thing. Of course, sometimes I do those as well, but it takes a whole lot more energy than me painting with the thought of like art being a form of self-expression. That's why I always try my best to bake in the art part into my studies as well. Because a painting, no matter how beautiful it is, it's not art. Like, it's a big picture. Like, if you're not saying anything with it, like, it's a picture. And there's nothing wrong with that. We need plenty of illustrators in this life as well. That is super important. But if you want your art to have a bit more lasting power in the minds of people who see it, you need to kind of do the hard work of looking into yourself and understanding what it is that you're saying. Maybe I don't need this window. I really don't want to align with that line too much. Maybe I just need more space in this direction. Hello, Alena Woods. Welcome to the Angry Mob. Also, join the Discord, please. I ask because some experts start with a reference and end up with a totally different thing. I cannot do it yet. Yeah, the way that I think of references is that if I'm painting a boat, a reference is me looking at pictures of a boat and understanding what boats look like. Like, what do I need to put into this artwork of mine to make this look enough like a boat that I need this to look for my art purposes here. That doesn't mean that I will look at a picture of a boat and do that, because that picture already exists. Like, then what am I really even doing? That would be a practice piece for like drawing that exact boat for some reason, hopefully for some kind of a purpose. But right now I cannot see like what good it would do in this instance. That's just my personal opinion of that. Should I close the door? Probably. Because if I leave the door open, then I need to come up with all kinds of stuff that is inside the boat, and I don't need that. Don't think that I have that kind of commitment to realism. I absolutely do not feel this high art right now, so I'm really sorry about this, but I do need to change this music. Can you still hear the music? I don't know if I need to relink the whole thing. Just let me know. Sorry for being so stressed. I was really afraid that like I would just have no idea what this blob would be. Oh, how many live streams does one need to do to finally be okay with this? I'm cleaning up some of those extra bits. Just looking at it from further away, and I think like these sort of bright spots can really guide the composition in different broken lines. Kind of distribute those light bits and lead them off into those birds. And on the left, I probably don't need them because I can use these clouds as a composition device to tell the viewer that the painting is over. I was feeling like the classical music was so fancy, and I was definitely not feeling that fancy with this art. I just want to do a cute boat, and it felt like the music was pressuring me to somehow elevate it into something more somber and nuanced, and I really didn't feel like it. This is kind of weird to explain in words, but the way that I listen to music, especially when I'm painting, I kind of like see the sounds. So if the sounds are in contrast to what I'm doing, there's this constant like mental dissonance between the two battling concepts, and it makes it really hard for me to just be in the middle of that, be in the middle of like between music and what I'm doing if they are too far apart, and creating this like cognitive rift in my head. Hello, Lunes. Welcome. I like the blue area. I don't know if this is something that other people care about, but when there is this like certain type of mix of different hues next to each other, and it's creating kind of like a pleasant combination on the painting, I really just like enjoy that. Like when I find those colors that look good to me, like that to me is pretty much the best thing about art in general. And I'm not exaggerating one bit. Like that is really what it's all about for me. One thing that I wanna consciously avoid here is using perspective guides for once, because I think one area that I find super inspiring about posts like these is this sort of like mix of different angles in the lines, and I find that visually very inspiring. And I think if I took out a perspective guide and perfectly mapped out how all the different lines are in this perspective, I think it would take away like a lot of like personality and visual opportunities that I otherwise have. When it comes to like man-made objects like these, one approach is to like draw everything and simplify everything into boxes and try to find the painting that way. But that's not the only way to create art like this. And for that reason, I think it's important to experiment and just see like what those other opportunities are. This honestly would probably just like go way beyond. Gonna add a few more of these beams. Maybe one like here. They often have those like benches as well, so I'm gonna do like one here. Maybe another one here to hold it up. Like a tighter beam. Electrotone is saying something funny, in my opinion. Electrotone says, what are people's views on buying tablet just for art? I have screen tablet, but hardly use it due to being tied to PC. Maybe I'm deluding myself, thinking I'd get more done with a tablet. I don't know Electrotone's thing, but like, I have plenty of graphics tablets, and I just find them really hard to work with. Like, especially now that I'm used to the response time that iPad has. Like, to me, it just seems so old-fashioned to go back to using whatever these are, like XP pens and Huion. And I also have like one Wacom Cintiq. It's just like when you draw a line, it takes so long for the actual line to appear. And back when I was using those graphics tablets for ages, I didn't even notice that the lag was there. Like, really, I did not know that there was a lag at all. But as soon as I drew like one single line on this, and I know that Apple is like a terrible company these days, but there's just like no comparison at all. Honestly, the tablet that I have here that I still haven't done the review on, there's nothing wrong with it except that it's a tablet and the response time is just like nowhere near as fast as iPad. And how am I supposed to not compare it to the response time of iPad? It's literally the reason why I haven't done the review yet. Because I just like don't feel inspired to start painting with it. And I don't use my iPad for anything else except for art. art and writing. I do sometimes take this to the library and then I write videos there. And sometimes I write just to like explore ideas. I don't necessarily think that like everything needs to turn into a video, but writing to me is like the best way to process thoughts, and I think that's how like my most interesting video ideas come, when there could be something that I find vaguely interesting, but before I write and actually try to turn it into a story, I don't know what it is that I feel about it, that like what's the lesson. Writing is the kind of like tool for doing that self-reflection for me. Of course, painting is also a great way to explore your emotions, but I feel like it kind of brings up a different side of me. When I'm writing, and especially when I'm editing and I'm seeing the text kind of like from outsider's perspective, at that point, then it's easier to kind of be more removed from my thoughts and see what's really going on there in this head of mine. Sorry, I know that this probably wasn't what you were asking at all, but when it comes to if iPad is worth it for the art, I think it depends on like how big of a role art is in your life. Would you do it more if you had an easier way to do art basically everywhere? They are becoming like more and more expensive devices now, so that could also be a limiting factor. For me, when I got a tablet, I was still working as a concept artist, but I just found it easier to do my own art and not think like I'm at work. When at work I was always painting with graphics tablets. And then later at work I said that like, I'm gonna paint this with this now. And literally nobody cared. I don't know if this is still at all a thing, but at some point, some of my concept art students said that like, is it okay if I don't know how to use Photoshop? If I just use this or that program? And I don't know how people have gotten in their head that like, when art position says that like needs to be proficient in Photoshop, that doesn't mean anything. Like, they don't care how you do your art. That's just some HR dude that is like writing the job opening. They have no clue on how art is made, and nobody at work is absolutely going to care like what kind of tools you are using if it's not the kind of job that is collaborative, that requires everybody to use the same tools. Which most art positions, like, you basically are in charge of your own painting, and if somebody else is using a different program and they are tasked with overpainting your piece, they can do that with whatever program that they feel more comfortable with as well. I don't know what a used market there is for iPads, but I think people usually when they are buying their first iPad, they make this mistake of thinking that the latest one is the most powerful one. It's not, it's just about the RAM. That's it. So you can easily get a more powerful iPad by buying an older one that just has that like larger storage space, and those are the ones that have more RAM for painting, and that allows you to do like bigger canvases and more layers in Procreate. A newer iPad can be worse if it has less RAM. And Garmin is saying that I had a stressful day. I hope it's the workout that I did and not stressing about this live stream. I guess this like scribble that I had in the beginning, which is this, doesn't really constitute as a sketch even on my standards, but I'm starting this sketch club sessions on these sketch club sessions on my membership side, and those are specifically designed so that we are gonna do like idea generation in there. We are gonna do those studies with the references and like overall learn how to bring art as a this like practice of just sitting down and doing something as a preparation for doing more art in the future. It doesn't always have to be something that you will develop into a full painting later. It can be just a study. For example, for a subject that you want to learn how to do, then I recommend using those sketch sessions as an opportunity to fine-tune those skills that you can use in the future in painting more detailed versions of those ideas that you have in your head, but don't yet have the skills for. I think this part in the middle, it's probably like some kind of a sleeping space, because you wouldn't be able to stand up here. So I'm just gonna do a small window. So that you can get some darkness. Runes is saying, I got one that allowed me to use the Apple Pencil 2 or whatever versus the first gen. That does make a difference. Yeah, I have to say that, just as I was about to say this, that I like the second gen Apple Pencil because it has a little bit more matte surface, so it's a lot more comfortable to hold without accidentally doing a death grip on it. But just as I was saying it, like I noticed that like mine is super slippery because I haven't properly cleaned it in some time. So you will get like all the fat of the humanity on the pencil at some point. So clean your pencil, please. Don't be me. I love working on these kind of like rusty textures by just like painting colors next to each other and letting that be. Maybe I should repeat that orange in some kind of like a flag. I don't know if I'm actually gonna keep this, but it's gonna see. Flags are just so much fun to paint and to add into paintings. Whoa, too much. I think that could balance the composition nicely. But maybe it's too big. Maybe it's just something like this could be enough. I want to look vaguely like a C sign. Should I do all the windows on separate layers just for easiness of things? What is my resolution again? I'm gonna just check that. 30 layers available. That's not much. I still have some working room to play with, so maybe I will stick with this resolution. But yeah, probably walls and then windows on a separate layer. That makes more sense, considering like how loosely I have painted in all of the different areas. Was amazing track. Thank you, past DJ Mikko, who selected it for this playlist. Under the chair, the one who never cleaned the pencil. Yeah, I mean, when it starts feeling slippery, then you're more likely to just like do a death grip on it, and if your finger or wrist starts hurting, then that's probably like a good sign that like either you are gripping your pencil too hard, or that you have your pressure settings like in preferences. Where is it? Pressure and smoothing here. This is my settings, and I use this setting so that I don't have to press too harsh, so that I can get the full range of all of the options in this process. I feel like the door is tilted to the opposite direction than everything else is. So I'm trying to fix that. While it is important to know how to do proper perspective, I think it's important to also detach what idea generation is from like picture building. So if you're tasked with, for example, designing an interesting looking boat, like the perspective stuff, if that is necessary for production, all of that can be done later. But if the idea is not worth going into production and putting all that time into it, then I see no point like going into SketchUp and doing a 3D boat render before we are even agreed that this would be an interesting design to have in the project. Because all that time is like taken away from like developing like different iterations and different versions. It's important to have the kind of like mental stamina to produce lots of like different ideas so that you can pump out new ideas that can be inspiring. porthole achievement unlocked. It's a real boat now. Yeah. I really want to play Dredge at some point. I have it on my Steam Deck, but I haven't even opened it yet. I've been super into fishing games lately. Probably that's where this boat is coming from. Like maybe that's the whole thing. And some recolors. I went on this like fun boat trip to see an art exhibition in Vallisaari. I went there with my other man, and we didn't really like the art, but the island itself is so beautiful that it's always super inspiring to see it and walk around. I think whenever you're doing an art exhibition in nature, you're kind of competing with the nature. If your art is not in any way like connected to the location somehow. So maybe where they were facing an uphill battle, but at least to me, the art, contemporary art, wasn't really at least hitting my buttons. And by that, I don't mean that I need to like the art. I think it's a very limited worldview if you think that like the only art that matters is the art that you like. But I also wasn't like annoyed, or like it wasn't thought-provoking, or didn't expand my view of like what art or connection with nature and art is. Like none of these things I think were there. Like when you make art for the internet, it's also important to acknowledge that not every painting needs to be your portfolio piece. Like it's completely okay to do art that is not meant to get you a job, in my opinion. Like you can have a portfolio for that, but if you have your own art page where you're just like posting all the art you're making, it doesn't all have to kind of like compete on like technical level with each other or be stylistically the same. Like that's an easy way to kind of paint yourself into a corner where you stop even liking the act of painting itself, because it all becomes this sort of like skill competition, even with yourself. Out of milk error detected. Yeah. To me, a morning, if I wake up and I can't have my morning coffee, because unfortunately I do need lots of milk in my coffee still. That's an issue that I'm trying to, or a habit that I'm trying to get out of. But still, if I wake up and there's no coffee, milk, like the entire day is just like not starting before I get my proper morning coffee. Everything else is just delayed until then. I don't want to deal with the coffee cranky version of myself either, and especially other people shouldn't be exposed to that side of me ever, hopefully. tea without milk is not my cup of tea. Yeah, same. Every time that I try to quit coffee, I always replace it with tea, and I don't get black tea idea without milk. To me, it's undrinkable. I'm sorry. But one thing that I love with coffee a lot is there is this oat milk by Oatly that has popcorn flavor in it, and that to me is like the best possible coffee milk in existence. If I ever am able to fully drop cow milk, which I'm hoping to do at some point, then something like that is the closest possibility I have for achieving that dream. I'm trying to add more hue variety by just adding different blotches of color. Poor Vivi, she's having a dream. I'm lucky the colors have this much editing room, but it's all thanks to this palette really that lets me do stuff like this at all. a tiny door here to this crawl space. And I painted on the wrong layer. Sorry. This is why painting on the same layer saves so much time. You don't have to deal with any of this nonsense. Stuff like this, it's impossible to see if the brushstroke is correct without looking at it from further away. Like now, now I'm happy with it. Carolina is saying, I don't even like coffee without milk. And what I like the most is not stirring it up. So I drink it from dark to light, if that makes sense. So you're kind of like getting to the good part of the coffee as you're drinking the coffee. I think that makes sense. I've never tried that. I'm gonna try that. That sounds like a good idea. I think we've all learned something useful today. I think when painting with this style, it's easy to go kind of like accidentally do like a perfect circle for stuff like this, and then forget that like everything else in the painting is painted with a completely different style. Or when you're zooming into a seagull, that you accidentally think that this is the painting, and when this is the actual style of the painting. So for example here, if I use the quick shape and did like a perfect circle for one of these tires on the side of this boat, like when you zoom out, you like really quickly realize that like, oh no, it's a completely different shape language than I have already established elsewhere. I'm haunted with this like one comment. Like usually comments don't bother me that much, but like there's one comment that bothers me so much that I sometimes wake up screaming still thinking about it. There was one person who commented on one of my videos that like, I have figured out how Angry Mikko does this style. He zooms in a lot and does a lot of details. That's how he gets this look in his paintings. I was like, oh my god, that's the exact wrong takeaway that I want anybody to have from my channel. And it's just like, oh my god. I just wanted to go through the screen and just like shake that person physically. Lunesse, let us know how it goes. You can be the guinea pig for the rest of us coffee milk drinkers. Wow, I really like the colors in this area. Something just worked right. I will have my review for the mob. We expect like a full page written statement. Maybe I can recycle that tire. As a starting point for these. I'm always on purpose kind of like lifting up the pressure of the stylus to let the underlying colors blend in with these, to just build up that texture more. And it's also super fun to play with color this way. If you don't like it, you can paint over it. But to me, it's somehow a very therapeutic way of painting, kind of letting the paint surface live its own life a little bit. I think it's all about how much chaos are you willing to deal with in your painting. Do you want to control all of it, or are you willing to let go and just see if something interesting could happen if you don't try to kind of manage everything so much? The one element about the flag I don't like is that it's covering up my favorite part of this cloud. That like kind of like wild, swooshy, massive, big brushstroke. So I'm just gonna do this and bring it back into view. I think that's kind of fun. It's a lot of movement. My kind of a silly shape. Okay. I can see the boat line slowly forming out there. One thing that I always find super intimidating about the bolts is the edge. I mean, like, should I see some of this on this other side as well? Maybe like a hint if it's peeking out. The three-dimensional shape is just so difficult. I think it's one of the most difficult three-dimensional shapes that I can think of. I like how the brush texture is just sometimes coming out a little bit, but mostly the brush texture is from the way that I use the brush and the way that the color blends together with itself. Still waiting to see like how Lunes's coffee thing went. Give us an update. How did you guys feel about the previous live stream that was space themed? Should I do like a more in-depth tutorial on how to do space art the way that I did for Northern Lights, maybe? I feel like that could be like one topic that I do know something about. Since I spent so many years doing space stuff. Lava is saying, Northern Lights video was great. I learned so much. It would be great to see your process up close again with the space piece too. I think with space, it would be easy to divide it into sections of like how to do the stars and the planets and the atmosphere and to control the light logic and so on. I think doing that kind of like breakdown in that level of detail, it helps if I can kind of section it into parts, and then the information is like easier to digest as well when it's not just like random bits of information while painting the whole piece all at once. Definitely for a tutorial like that, I think about more of the value that the tutorial can have rather than just painting like I normally paint, because then I do need to adjust the way that I work to make the information itself like easier for people to process and section it in a way that makes sense. We have finally entered the dark hour, and now death has entered the chat, literally. So, Death, what do you have to share with us? I can't believe that it's 9, and to me this is like late hour in the day, and I literally bought tickets into this electronic music dance event that starts at 10. Dear Lord. I think I might be too old for electronic dance event that starts at 10. It's from 10 to 4. So, dear Lord. I'm going to be so dead. Death is on a break, and Death draws. Who knew? Death is an artist. I always say that like everybody is creative in some way, but also Death apparently. This is what I mean when I say that like you learn something new every day. But did you have inspiration or just... Did I have inspiration for what? For the boat? For the boat, I had a vague blotch of paint brushstrokes in the beginning of this. You can scroll back into the beginning of this live stream and see what that blob was, but to me it looked vaguely like a boat. And here we are doing the boat. Bring on some more plants. I'm trying to keep the plants like kind of sturdy and close together, because if there are high winds, it's not like they have room to bring them all inside. So they might all be like torn to shreds if they can't take harsh weathers. Death has exited, left the chat. That is something that I am going to edit. If I were to do like a space art tutorial like I did for the Northern Lights, I think at this time I would have learned from my mistakes. And even though I'm really happy with the way that the Northern Lights tutorial on Gumroad turned out, from the production side, it was an insane amount of work. So for that reason, like if I were to do something like that again, I think I would do the painting itself like a few times. And that would give me information on how to talk about the process better. Because even if you plan out all of the different parts beforehand, when you're painting, you really learn so much more stuff about the painting that you are doing. I don't know how some folks churn those out weekly, even if simpler paintings. weekly painting tutorials like that, I'm just gonna say that like that is just like not going to happen. Like there's no way I would be able to keep up with a pace like that. Or it would have to be something like extremely simple, like definitely not something like this. And obviously there's nothing wrong with more simple paintings. Not everybody has the time to work on something that takes more time. In my latest video I say that like I think a lot of people have this idea of art that you sit down and you make something until it's finished. Damn it, it's the wrong layer. Something like the Northern Lights tutorial, like, I see no way that I could ever make something like that in a week. The amount of like video footage that you have to deal with, it's just requires its own planning almost by itself. Even for my latest video, the one that will probably be released sometime tomorrow, the one that the members can already see, that space art part, which is only one of the two paintings being done in that video, like that's already 4 hours of video footage that I have to go through and make sure to cut out all the parts where I'm not painting or doing some like very insignificant type of editing that is not contributing to the visual impact, because I was also doing that in a live stream. I love doing videos and I love video editing, but that type of video editing, like if there is some kind of like an AI system that can automatically detect those sort of like boring portions of a painting process so that I could have the footage material for my YouTube videos, I would immediately use that. I'm just not gonna lie, like that would absolutely... It's the kind of job that like even a monkey could do it. So I don't feel like I'm being challenged or that anything meaningful is happening when I'm going through... That was 6 hours of video that I did that for. If you were to describe this painting with your 3-bucket method, how would it be split value-wise? I think the dark values are definitely the smallest bucket. Then most of it is medium values because of the sky and the darker tones. and then the highlights are kind of like the medium. No, like that's small. The medium value range is the large one. The highlights are the medium-sized bucket, and then the shadows are the smallest bucket, which here perform the most important function in the entire composition, that they define the shapes mostly, with those dark shadows that I have on, especially on these like rooftop edges. I think I'm gonna like just fix this perspective a little bit. That's a good question. In any painting, I think when you're kind of lost and you think that there is like too much of like hard to pinpoint what is keeping the painting together or how it's structured, kind of forcing yourself to put the painting into the 3-bucket method can easily identify what elements can make it kind of like easier to work on, not just to read, but for you as the artist, like how you can checklist that entire like to-do list for yourself on what to do next, how to give the painting its own identity and its own logic, how people can read it. Before people can read it, you need to be able to deliver that message. I also think it's possible if I keep making more tutorials like that kind of like show how to do a very specific painting, I would eventually get better at that. But I never want to lose the kind of like core of this channel, which is like I wanna teach people how to paint and how to make art and how to live life as an artist, because that is its own skill as well. And I don't want to turn this into like, here's how to make a picture. Like if I show every step on how to get to the end result, exact end result that I am getting to, I want to make sure that those steps are useful in some other things as well. Because otherwise, like it's just not really growing anyone's skill or like making them able to do more art and express themselves. And then I think rather than giving people more creative freedom, I would be taking away from that freedom and replacing it with my own art, which already is like expressing thoughts about my life. And for example, for that space art, like that would be a good subject, because there are ways to give tools on how to make those components, and then people can put those components into any kind of painting in that genre, and they would have the tools to know how to do art like that in the future as well. And not just that painting, but like those kinds of paintings. But not all subjects are kind of that flexible. For example, landscape elements are always very useful for those kinds of tutorials, because once you learn how to do like one kind of landscape element in a painting, that information is useful whenever that element, be it water, trees, rocks, or just the composition of different elements, kind of giving templates for those, I think, gives more creative freedom. Once you start getting kind of more stuff into a painting like this, it becomes really fun to just imagine what life is like here. Just getting over that like first hurdle of getting the painting to be something, which admittedly sometimes it's a lot. I added that bright highlight, and now I am painting with black to give back the shadows to these railings where they are necessary. I don't want to be like too fussy with any of these lines. I kind of like the wonkiness of those. With perspective, I think once you have just enough things going your way, then that's enough to sell the illusion that you're going, because every painting is an illusion. You're trying to sell your world as the real place. And just thinking about the relationships between like designs of like, if my ship surfaces look like this, what kind of plans would they have? If my ship is colored like this, what kind of people would be using this ship and for what purpose? Those sort of relationship between colors and what they mean, and the shape language and how people read shape language, using those as intentional design elements, all of those things build this like reality of what your painting is and what it communicates. Perspective itself can also be a storytelling tool, but only if it's used with purpose. Here, I want the idea that there is this sort of like side view that is not generating that third vanishing point up in the air. It's making the ship look smaller and kind of more human size. It's slightly more relatable, and that gives that kind of like cozy look to this painting. If I had that third vanishing point up in the sky and the features on the top part of the boat were getting smaller, it would look bigger, but it also wouldn't have this sort of like warm vibe to it, if I'm allowed to use that type of complimentary term of the way that it looks now. I think warm vibe is a good thing, at least in my paintings. Not everything is a warm vibe, of course. And I do like art that is dark, uncomfortable, annoying, and makes people angry. I do appreciate that that kind of art exists. Thank you, Lunesse. Lunesse is saying gym time. Thank you for your time and art today when I was awake to catch it. Now, I should be thanking you guys for being here for this sea adventure, apparently, that I didn't know it's going to be a boat painting before literally minutes before the live stream started. I was so stressed, can't lie. Have a fun gym session, Lunes. My workout today was a Swift bike ride, which was absolutely insane. I was just dying on the bike. Because my membership to the triathlon club that I belong to is so expensive, I have cancelled my own gym membership, and now I'm doing all the gym workouts at home. But I do have like quite a lot of gym equipment, so with the amount of time that I have to do like workouts at home, I think I have enough. But now in the fall, when the triathlon club workouts start again, like it's not like I have that much time to do other workouts. Sometimes it feels like I'm always coming or going from one of those workouts. And especially on the harder set weeks, it just sometimes feels like my body cannot take this at the pace that this is going. But so far, I'm still alive. They definitely push me. I think it's starting to look like pretty much there. Like the whole visual concept, I could work on more on these birds. But that's like detail stuff. That's not really a visual impact thing. This is the kind of thing that, like, if I was selling a boat concept, nobody cares what the birds look like. Honestly, it's not gonna make or break the entire concept here. And then the rest will be just like adding small details everywhere, and that is not difficult. Details are always the easy part in every painting. But having this kind of like fun starting point that like now I have this boat that I can spend time in and work on those details, I think that's fun. And I like the kind of like slappy, sploochy style that I have here. It's a bit different than the previous paintings that I have been doing recently. And the kind of variety to me is always interesting and inspiring. let there be one more light element of clouds in here. Not gonna know if this works if I don't try it. I just think that it could bring out some of those silhouettes in an interesting way. I just don't want it to be too close to that other edge. Very big brush strokes. I think that's the best way to make decisions. I think if I had an endless amount of time, I think there would probably be a lot less of this art that people kind of know me for, more expressive brushstrokes. I think it would be just way too easy to let all of my insecurities and fears run the show. But when I just kind of push myself to do art within the time limits of these live streams, I think it has forced me to just discover this entire different side of myself that enjoys painting like this. And I really do like these paintings that I'm making in these. I'm just so happy that there's a way that I have found a way to include this part of my art into my process. I really kind of declared that the idea is there and it's working in my opinion, but like now I notice that I'm just getting into the type of painting that I probably shouldn't in these live stream sessions. Like now I'm just rendering, which I know is boring, but I think that's a good sign. It shows that like now I have created a space, this boat, that I at least really love spending time on. So I think this is the type of work that is going to be really fun to polish. There is this like annoying, like really bright line going all the way here that is not in any way part of the composition. So before we end this live stream, I'm gonna fix that, because there might be somebody out there who is like really annoyed for a good reason that it's still there. So I'm gonna be using darker color because I don't wanna overrule all of those interesting textures out there. And I'm gonna pick this relatively light color, and now it should just cover that area that I have an issue with. Okay, that one flower pot definitely does not read against the light background, so that definitely needs fixing. Now I'm doing the details, and I said that I would stop. Dear Lord. Okay, I'm definitely stopping. I think we have about just doing some quick color edits. pulling down everything to the middle and then giving it like a shadow tweak with an emphasis on green. It's a way to punch up the shadows quickly while keeping with the colors that I have already established in the piece. But you can still use like Painterly. Oh. Setsuna, hey. What was I saying? Yeah, so when you're painting on a mask, you can still use the same kind of like paint stroke logic that you use elsewhere in the painting. So don't throw all of those ideas into the garbage just because you're doing color editing. Like especially when you're working in Procreate, you can easily do the color edits while keeping with the brushstroke groupings and everything else that you have established elsewhere in your painting. Just don't switch styles at this point. It's kind of doing more harm than good. By the way, Setsuna, have you seen gameplay of the new remake of the new Trails game? I just saw like a small snippet today and I think it looks amazing. I definitely do not have the time in my life, but I really want to play the first one again as a remake. The gameplay also looks amazing. Yes, my spouse has been playing the demo. There's a demo? Is there a demo on Steam? This is gonna sound so bad when you see my next video. I literally just declared in the video that I have completed all of Monster Hunter, so that doesn't take up more of my time, but I kind of wanna play the Trails. There's a Steam demo. Oh my god. 3 hours on a demo that's a lot. I hope it's one of those demos that you can save in. Like, especially knowing what the Trails game, like the beginning is. I do think that the beginning is super important for the storytelling and world building of that game, but I definitely don't also want to do that twice. I think the cool thing about like playing it like now with all of the knowledge that I have of where that world is gonna go and everything, and I would pay more attention to the side character NPCs, especially in the starting town. I wonder if that like barkeep is there. That would be super cool. Okay, and that's the painting. They are at... still not done yet. Wow. I want to live on this spot, Elma is saying. I want to live on this spot as well. I think that's the whole idea. Now that I have the perspective of seeing what this painting turned into and where I started, I think this is one of those paintings where it's pretty clear to see that I was feeling super anxious, not knowing that like, can I turn this like mess into a painting in a few hours? And like clearly I wanted to make a space that would make me feel kind of like comfortable and safe. So I think that's the entire like design reasoning behind that. And I like the kind of wonky lines that I have in there. There's a like strong like urge when doing a piece like this. I noticed constantly that I wanted to like straighten those lines that are diagonal all the time. Again, now that I'm saying this, I can see that there's like this rooftop that I need to fix that because it's still too straight. But like doing all of these lines in a kind of like organic, interesting rhythm type of way, it's a skill that I didn't kind of respect how difficult of a skill it is to pull off in a painting like this when I started. But that just makes this entire piece like a lot more valuable to me, because clearly I needed to practice this aspect. I'm still gonna add some more like stuff like doors and winches or whatever machine parts there are on boats, and I am going to look up reference pictures of actual boats because I'm not a sailor, unfortunately. So I want to do that. It's adorable. Thank you. Okay, thank you everybody for joining this live stream, and I hope that you got some art done of your own, and I'll see you guys in the next video. And the next video on this channel is gonna be up hopefully tomorrow. It's already available for the members. I'm just gonna make some thumbnails for it. I'm really proud of this video. I know that this video probably won't be searched or watched that much because of the topic in it, but it's something that I feel really strongly about, and I think it's important that that video got made. And on these, especially in these live streams, I see those challenges the most in this chat. Like, that's the most common topic that people have, these art excuses, that they want to be more creative and do more writing and art and whatever it is that they do. But then they have all of these excuses of like, if only, and they are so easy to overcome. So I wanted to create this video that can help people be more creative, even if they have a full-time job and a busy life with children and other commitments. There is a way to carve time out for art, so that's why I made that video, and I'm really proud of the way that it turned out. I spent the entire yesterday doing the sound design again from scratch on it because I just wanted it to be a lot better. Okay, thank you again, and I'll see you in that video. Hopefully you will check it out. Bye!